Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to the last session, part of the TourFest 2024 integration track. In case you're not aware, the TourFest is part of the TechEd experience, which basically means there's lots of opportunities for you to learn. We had TechEd Virtual a couple of weeks ago, all the recordings are now available on the platform. Tomorrow, for example, we also have the TourFest session, which is basically a Q&A post-TechEd with Michael Ameling, who is the Chief Product Officer of SAP BTP. There's even a TechEd viewing party contest going on in the SAP community website, so make sure to check that out. I will share the links over chat. And then, yeah, so before we start, please feel free to drop us your questions on the chat window, as we will be monitoring it during the session, and we will answer your questions there. We'll also have a Q&A at the end of the session, but yeah, we might end up answering them on the chat. And well, today we have my colleagues Jesse and Evgeny, who are part of the SAP Build team focusing on enterprise automation. And they will share with us the latest advancements in enterprise automation and even something about event-driven architectures for you there, so and how they can be used in this space. So without any further delay, hola, Jesse and Evgeny, over to you guys.
Thank you, Antonio. Hi and welcome, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining our session today. My name is Jessie, and I'm here with my colleague Evgeny, and we are here to talk about enterprise automation with SAP. What is it, how it's done, and all of our latest enhancements and some future enhancements that you can look forward to. So, in terms of agenda, what we'll be covering today, right? I'll first go over the introduction and what enterprise automation with SAP is and what are some major capabilities and integration touch points. And then Evgeny will take over the latest enhancements. We'll highlight 3 of those, for example, how to connect your processes at scale using integration flows and event-driven architectures, as mentioned by Antonio. And then we'll also touch base on how to simplify connectivity to improve developer efficiency. And next, we'll go ahead and touch base on 2 major highlighted future topics. First is models to execute, which is the BPMN import capability. And then we'll look at some built-in AI capabilities that we've been working on. And then to top it off, we'll finish it up with a nice end-to-end demo. So with that, let's first think about what enterprise automation with SAP is, right? It really is a framework combining our industry-leading solutions, SAP Integration Suite, SAP Signavio, and SAP Build, right? It is really to take your current automation projects. For example, you might be already involved in some RPA project or workflow automation projects, etc. So it really takes it to the next level where you can, integrate multiple systems, apps, etc. at scale, and then really to take it to the next level at scale. For example, let's say you have a process that spans across multiple departments and systems in a given company, especially is the case for most large companies, right? But you would like to improve on this process. SAP Signavio helps you actually analyze this process to uncover the inefficiencies and provide the insights for improvement. And SAP Build actually then acts on these inefficiencies with our AI-powered automation solution. And also it can help you extend applications using our low-code approach. Last but not least, SAP Integration Suite then helps you integrate any SAP and non-SAP applications and systems, be it on-premise or cloud, to optimize this end-to-end processes at your company. So now that we know kind of what it is, we can take a look at the key capabilities and the integration touch points, right? First, we have SAP Signavio and SAP Build. Imagine you're identifying, let's say, some areas in your company to identify the automation rates or what you can improve in terms of automation. SAP Signavio Process Insights helps you pinpoint those areas and gives you the insights, say, hey, maybe this could be automated, right? But it doesn't stop there, right? Based on this, SAP Build can actually, provide you with direct pre-built content recommendation, so you can really kickstart this automation immediately. And also SAP Signavio Process Intelligence takes it a step further by being able to help you trigger processes based on the process insights and analysis. So it goes one level deeper. And overall, this connection, right, helps you ensure holistic process management and documentation using our BPMN import functionality, which we'll also see later in the demo. And next, as you can see in the wheel, is SAP Integration Suite, SAP Build. So basically, this integration touchpoint really helps you to integrate different processes to backend applications, right? And then in any business, many business events have to be acted upon immediately, right? So it requires real-time action. So SAP Integration Suite allows these events to trigger automations automatically in SAP Build, which is what we call the event-driven architecture, which Evgeny will talk about a little bit later. And also on the technical side, SAP Build makes it simple to package your APIs for business users to consume through our actions engine, bridging the gap between the IT and the business, right? And last but definitely not least is, of course, SAP Integration Suite and SAP Signavio. As you can see on the screen, if let's say you need to mine some data from non-SAP applications, SAP Integration Suite provides the connectivity to gather insights from diverse systems and applications across your IT landscape to help you bridge that gap to SAP Signavio, right? And once the data is then mined, it can be published to the event mesh for real-time process execution and automation, overall removing the need for human intervention. So overall, as you can see, all of these integration touch points can be triggered automatically between all of our solutions, giving you the unified systems for business process transformation. So next, I'll pass it over to Evgeny to talk about the latest enhancements that we've introduced for enterprise automation with SAP. Evgeny, over to you.
Thank you, Jesse, for the great introduction, right? And as you can see, enterprise automation is, on one hand, a complicated concept. On another hand, I wanted to, before we go into the latest enhancements, of course, give you the heads up and explain that it's not always something that you need to see everything at the same time, right? So we have customers using, say, event-driven architecture. So event mesh and build, we'll talk about it just in a few minutes. Later on, we have customers also leveraging Signavio process analysis capabilities, and then they automate the findings with the help of the build process automation, and that is another way of using this. So see this as a circle where there is no no beginning and no end. That means that you can enter from any side, and then you can start going left or right, depending on your use case and depending what fits your specific needs, right? And this way, let us maybe jump one level deeper into observing how do we combine these capabilities on a specific use cases like the ones I just brought up. So if we go to the next slide, we will then look into how we can actually extend our processes using integration flows, and what is it and why do we need it, right? So with Build Process Automation, we can build comprehensive approval flows. So imagine multiple steps. You can have automation, so RPA bots, you can have conditions, rules, decisions, and then you, of course, want to perform API calls to retrieve the data from the specific system to your workflow, or to post the data to the specific system. It can be SAP, non-SAP system, and SAP Build Process Automation comes with what we call action engine, where you have actions that allow you to encapsulate APIs. However, it is not covering all protocols, right? And if we think of a big set of different protocols that are out there, right? It's REST, OData, SOAP, RFC, and etc. Then you can, of course, imagine that it's not so easy to provide all the connectivity options directly if we want to make a tool low-code tool. And given this, of course, we have a great support from the integration suite, and particularly from the cloud integration capability of integration suite, where we can define integration flows, where you can connect to a big number of different systems using different protocols. So from Build Process Automation, you can extend your processes to basically then call an iFlow, to call an integration flow, and there you can anonymize the data, you can customize the data, and of course you can maintain this connectivity at scale. And this way you basically enrich your process in a way that you can easily manipulate the data and coordinate the data flows in between different systems. And what's important, this connectivity is also native, I can say. So if you go into the Build Process Automation and then you will want to define a new action, you will see that you can select directly the integration flow as a type of a connectivity, and there you just select all the integration flows that you have. Of course, you need to configure a destination for that. It's a one-time activity, and after that, you can leverage this functionality in full force. Now, if we go to the next slide, there we have another very important, and what we observe also from the tech ed session, we had another confirmation that event-driven architectures is something that is very, very hot among the customers, right? And that is very interesting, hopefully for you as well, and interesting how you can set it up, right? So the idea behind it is pretty simple. Of course, you have a lot of events, right? And then if somebody calls you, this is an event. If somebody opens the door to this room where I'm presenting, this is also an event. But then, of course, there are business events that are happening in your S/4HANA system, SuccessFactors system, and other systems, right? And then you can actually listen to these events with the help of the advanced event mesh on SAP Integration Suite. And with this, you can define the event queues where you will basically catch the event that something new is being created in the system, like, there is a new journal entry or the new employee being created. And based on this, you can trigger in real time respective approval flow or automation flow to react to this event. So say now it's 5 p.m., there is a new posting, and I can fire up a new approval flow to basically send it for the manager review and then get it done directly, very quickly. And we can this way streamline and automate, again, various events and various activities that we perform on a daily basis in our transactional systems. And if we go now to the next slide, so we spoke about integration flows, we spoke about event mesh, and I believe some of you may be familiar with the graph capability of API management, which is part of SAP Integration Suite as well, right? And there, what you can observe is that sometimes if you create an application, if you create a process, you need to connect to multiple data sources. Before we spoke, how do we basically post the data, or how do we streamline it within the process? But now I am the developer, I am building the process, or I'm building the application if I'm using the build apps. And there I want to actually retrieve the data from source number 1, source number 2, source number 3. How do I do this? Actually, that I can do in several ways, right? So I can, of course, connect to these sources independently and be comfortable with that. However, that might not be very convenient for me. So if I change the schema or the structure of a table in the source, then I need to refresh it, I need to update it. And of course, it adds me additional effort as a developer. However, if I use graph capability, there I can create an abstraction layer of multiple underlying data sources, and there I can define the fields that I want to expose to basically be consumed in the application. And this way, we can basically consolidate the data on this virtual abstraction layer and then reuse it either via the process flow or within our application. And this way, again, we can achieve and increase developer productivity and achieve developer efficiency. So hopefully these features can be interesting for you and you would like to try them out. And later we'll also see more specific example in the demo. However, now we'd like to talk to you about the future, about what's coming. And with that, I'd like to pass it back to Jesse.
Yeah, thank you so much, Evgeny. To everyone, regarding the features and capabilities that Evgeny showcased, make sure to ask your questions if you have any in the chat, so Evgeny can answer them right away. So in terms of future topics, right, we wanted to highlight 2 of these, which is the BPMN import and also our built-in AI capabilities within enterprise automation with SAP that our teams have been working on. So first and foremost, so this model to execute capability, what really is that you're able to really document your processes in SAP Signavio, and then use it as an executable process within SAP Build. On the left-hand side, you see an example of such a BPMN model, right, where you can document or describe any business process either yourself or using one of the best practices models available on the SAP Signavio. On the right-hand side, we have our Build process automation process editor, which then helps you transform this model into executable workflow extensions and automations, etc., directly within SAP Build. So how it works overall is that you can export this BPMN model and then import it directly in SAP Build. So it all sounds fantastic, but let me show you how it looks in action. So here is a Signavio process manager, right? It is an example of such a best practice BPMN model. As you can see, there are different swim lanes, different stakeholders involved, and overall the process. So in this example, we are looking at 2 different models, right? Here now we're jumping into the process repository, where we'll look for those 2 that we just saw. So we found one, we can simply export it, right? And then next we're exporting the second model. We export it into BPMN XML format. And then with the new import capability within SAP Build process automation, we are importing the ones we've just downloaded from SAP Signavio. So directly within SAP Build process automation, you see the readily made process available for you. Of course, you see error notifications because you still have to configure them. But with the low-code interface of Build process automation, it is really simple, right? It gives you all the direction. So here, for example, you want to trigger it using a form. So you are configuring that accordingly based on that subprocess and trigger. So here, for example, you are seeing the approval form as to how you want to start this process. And then as mentioned, you all, configure the details, such as the subject of the form and who should receive this form, for example. So yeah, that was pretty much it. And then, of course, here we also have AI process generator capability that is also coming up, which we could generate the artifact for you as well. So this is also something that the team is working on. And second, of course, we cannot not talk about AI, right? Let's check out overall how our 3 enterprise automation solutions are implementing some built-in AI capabilities to make enterprise automation faster and smarter, especially for developers. We have many of these AI capabilities, but today I wanted to highlight the 3 I'm most excited about, right? First, on the Signavio front, we have the process and performance indicator recommender, which is designed to really assist you in your process modeling and analysis process. So basically, by analyzing your process data, this feature recommends the indicators that can optimize your performance and then guide your efforts with precision, right? And then next is the one, as you can see on the screen, is our GenAI-driven process artifacts generation. So basically, this feature really accelerates your development process by, generating different artifacts that typically take a lot of manual efforts or coding efforts, whether it's scripts, workflows, or automation. The AI really supports you here in speeding up your development process without sacrificing quality too much. Lastly, on the integration suite front, the generation of integration flows features ensures smooth system connectivity at scale, so you don't have to worry about integration bottlenecks here. This feature, by the way, is already available, right? And also another thing we could probably highlight is the script optimization. Also uses AI to refine your scripts, making them more efficient without sacrificing functionality. So yeah, in short, all of these capabilities really take care of the heavy lifting for you. And some of these features are already available. Some are on the roadmap. You can check the link on the slide here. So that was all on the AI front, I believe. And now I will hand it over to Evgeny to show us an end-to-end demo.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jesse, and thank you all for the questions, right? And please keep them coming. So happy to answer it further. And Antonio, thanks for your support as well with providing the useful links in the chat. Yeah, it shows definitely the interest, and we really appreciate the questions that you share with us. So, but now, as said, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. So it's always better to see how it actually works. And with that, let me take over the screen sharing. So I believe you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, and what have we cooked for you as a demo for today? Yeah, so we'll talk about the purchase requisition approval process. Yeah, it seems to be like, a very common process within the organization. So what happens with us when we create and then submit the purchase requisition for the approval, the manager reviews it, and then we post it in the system. And that actually can be, yeah, that sounds easy. That sounds like a not very complex scenario, but of course, the devil can be in the details. And if we look into this in a step-by-step view, like where do we start, where do we end, this is a very good scenario that we can put to showcase the enterprise automation framework and the power of the usage of the tools together. So first of all, we can use Signavio Process Insights to analyze the procure to pay area and then analyze typical KPIs such as the cycle time in order to evaluate and understand which scenarios we potentially need to improve. And purchase acquisition being a common process flow, of course, can be potentially advised to us to look at, especially if we have a lot of line items, like in this case, generated manually. We'll see it later in the demo. Next, we are actually now able to directly create build extensions from the SAP S/4HANA public cloud version 2408. So there we have the so-called extension wizard. So directly in the S4, if you are in the purchase requisition, in the sales order creation section, in other sections, you can go ahead and create the extension. That would be an extension based on the business technology platform, so working side by side with your S/4HANA system, yeah? But the creation is done also, is also possible to be done directly now from the S4 interface without separately opening the build, which is a great entry point for the business user, for the business expert to really start creating the extension. And then we can select a relevant event, and then we can use it, of course, thanks to the underlying event mesh and advanced event mesh capabilities. And after that, after we created an extension, which is a build process automation process, we then can enrich it with the recommendation of the pre-built content. You may remember that Jesse mentioned it before, that Signavio process insights, in this case, provide us with the recommendation based on the findings, which pre-built content we can leverage. And SAP Build process automation comes with 430 plus pre-built content packages that you can acquire and then adjust and amend as you would like to. And that's exactly what we'll do here, right? So now we have an entry point. So we trigger from the S4 an event. Then we have the flow, the content that we have acquired. We want to enrich the flow, and that we will do using the planned feature that Jesse mentioned, executable process AI, to generate the artifacts. And then we will connect it to the integration suite in order to, again, extend the connectivity options, not only to interact with the S/4HANA system, but also to interact with the third-party inventory system in this case. What's also important is that here you see S/4HANA public cloud and S/4HANA on-premise. And that is something we observe, as a common scenario when, there is a headquarters, there are multiple subsidiaries, and then subsidiary can be on the S/4HANA public cloud, and the headquarter can be on the on-premise system. And this way, after we update something on the subsidiary side, we then should replicate this respective update also on the headquarters side. So this way, we can ensure it and ensure the right replication and timely replication of the data, again, with the help of integration suite used together with the SAP Build process automation, right? So it looks like a pretty extensive scenario. So let's take it one step at a time. Yeah, we start in the Signavio process insights, and there we have our end-to-end processes analysis. There you see for each process flows, we see the number of objects, we see the related blockers, and we see the innovation recommendations, including the pre-built content for process automation. Like here we see we are recommended to use the purchase requisition approval process that we can explore and then acquire into our SAP Build tenant. Yeah, this is how it looks like. So remember, it's a sample content, so it can be adjusted to your needs. However, it already comes with several forms that you can customize, comes with a condition. So basically, if-then statement, notifications, and API call to the S/4HANA. Now, let's define the trigger for our process. So I go into the S/4HANA system to show you how it looks like, and then there I can click on the create an extension directly from the screen of the purchase acquisition processing. I define an extension, I give it a name, I define an event object. In this case, we're working with purchase acquisitions, right? So it shows us all the purchase acquisition events that we can select from. In this case, we are reacting to the fact that the line items were changed. And after this, we can review it all. So what are we doing? What is our trigger event? And then we create our extension. And then we can open this already in SAP Build. So the next step, we go into the lobby of SAP Builds and combine these process automation pieces that we already have recommended or created as a trigger. And if I go to the next part of our demo, this is our project. So you remember, this is our defined trigger. We can also, of course, define it from here, right? So you don't need to do it necessarily from the S4. However, as I said, it helps a lot the business users to do it directly from the S4. Now, what we want to do, we want to create a decision to define the right approver. And with this future planned capability, we can actually generate various artifacts, including the decision, by giving a description. So in this case, I'm giving the description to generate a rule based on the purchasing organization ID. So if the ID is 1710, then the approver is manager 1. If it's different, then it's manager 2, right? And this way, we just simply give an input of the text, and the system takes this input and generates a table, a decision table that you see on the right, and directly based on our input. Yeah, and that is just one example of how the generative AI can be, again, very helpful for the business users to interact with the tools. And if we go further, there we have our project already being set up, right? So you remember we defined a decision, which is approver determination. We have a trigger in place. We have our pre-built content also combined here and there. We have 2 actions now. So we customize our project. So we have the S4HANA call, and we have a call to integration suite. The actions itself are defined also here in the actions section. There you can enter the body parameter, the input parameters, outputs, and then you can even test it, right? So that is, of course, something you can do after configuring the destination. Yep. And then you can go into the integration suite. So you remember we have the iFlows to maintain the connectivity to SAP S4 on-premise to replicate the data. And this is how it is defined, right? So there we can define our flow, and the great functionality, which is a mapping functionality that you can leverage here. So it can be one-to-one, one-to-many mapping. It can be with a formula, so you can use it to also anonymize the data, and etc. And then you just simply define what you do, like send the PR to S4HANA on-premise. You then define the connectivity details with the URL, as you see now, proxy type. And later in the flow, you also have the ability to set the response body, so to return the information if it was successful or not. And then you can also try to catch the error. The same thing we do with the fetch stock details from inventory to interact with the third-party system. So as you can see, pretty straightforward. We can also apply the additional scripts now to set the extracted values as properties for material and material group. So this way you can even further extend, and I believe you are pretty familiar with the Groovy script because it's not a new feature. It's actually a feature used very commonly by our customers. Now, let's go to the runtime, right? So you remember we evaluated our process landscapes. We found the improvement potential to now then automate and streamline the purchase order, so purchase requisition, creation, and approval based on the line item change. Then we defined our flow, and then we also extended it thanks to the integration suite. So how it looks at the runtime. If I now go to the my homepage, so actually in this case I can open the task center. So task center is our central entry point for all the approvals across different systems. And you might be familiar with my inbox, but task center is definitely something we recommend to bigger customers who use a lot of approvals throughout different systems. There I can review the form that was submitted to us. After it is approved, we can also check the monitoring and the execution that is done on the integration suite side now. So we see that it runs. And then after it is executed, another beautiful feature is anomaly detection, API anomaly detection. So you see that there was a point that we received a lot of API calls. So API traffic was heavily increased, and the system can give us the suggestions how to address it. So it's not only detecting this, but it's also guiding us towards how to avoid it in the future. This is a feature on the integration suite side that is already available, that is AI-based. So definitely inviting you to get your hands dirty with trying that out. Yeah. And with that, we would like to proceed to the conclusion of our presentation. However, before we do that, of course, just another opportunity to quickly put some questions in the chat for you. Happy again to take them, even though we took a bit longer now, but let's proceed to the key takeaways. Yeah, so enterprise automation is a framework, and it's not just a framework. You see, we have many integration touch points between the solutions, allowing you to combine your process analysis, process transformation, automation, and integration engines together. We bring together Signavio capabilities, Build, integration suite, and then depending on your specific use case, you can see what fits and what needs to be combined here. So we invite you not to see the solution in silos, but rather benefit from the fact that you can use them jointly whenever you see fit. And of course, for that, we provide the pre-built content and then AI capabilities. I believe we had a very extensive slide before, so on what is being done, and you saw also a few examples in the demo. Another great feature coming as per our roadmap, the BPMN import. So then you can leverage it to move your workflow content, be it Signavio process models, or be it also models from some third-party solutions, or some also maybe older SAP solutions like NetWeaver, BPM. You can also leverage BPM import for that. And this way, as you saw just one demo, we have different scenarios. So we invite you to visit enterprise automation page at sap.com. Right there, you can, of course, explore more scenarios, customer references, and hopefully you also would like to try that out and to explore it for you and for your purposes. So with that, we'd like to thank you. And then we will proceed to reviewing your questions. Thank you very much for attending our session today. And over to you, Antonio.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm quite excited about that BPMN import functionality. In the end, for example, BPMN import is something that at least, for example, there's lots of customers who still run something like an SAP process orchestration, right? Where you can create those BPMs. You can export BPM and notation 2.0, I think. So yeah, in the end, it's like if you can automate it, like at the moment, we're telling customers like, well, you know what, you can sort of build that process in SAP Build process automation. But if there's something that will speed up that process, like that modeling, right, by importing the actual artifact, that's actually quite good. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, thank you. And it's just maybe to add to that, right? So we work with customers who have just it's easy to build a form in process automation, but if you think that the customer may have like 70, 100 and more steps, it's of course not a pleasure to really rebuild it, right? And if the customer has it modeled, it of course helps a lot and big time to really move it. So great catch. I totally agree. So yeah.
For sure. So, okay, let's go through some of the questions that we have here. So the first one says, someone with a pro code background, can we use any of the ABAP tools, RAP or CAP instead of SAP Build to achieve the same? I think I know the answer to this, but yeah, go.
Yeah, so basically, I also shared the link in the chat. So at the TechEd, we actually announced that SAP Build got closer to ABAP environments, right? So you can see in the news that SAP Build is actually not just what we shared with Build process automation, part of the framework of enterprise automation, right? SAP Build includes low-code capabilities, which are application development and automation capabilities, such as build apps, build process automation, and then also build work zone. Then SAP Build also includes the pro code capabilities with build code. And then ABAP environments are also now getting closer to SAP Build. So SAP Build is your one-stop shop for either low code or pro code enhancements and extensions on top or on the side to support your core systems execution of processes or full stack applications or mobile applications to input some data and etc. Right? And then I would not rather phrase the question, should we either use can we do this with pro code if we can do it with low code? I would rather say it depends on what you want to do. You can select from this tool set what would be bringing you faster to your goal and what can be more beneficial, what can be more helpful for you for your specific scenario. And we aim to provide you with different capabilities depending on your skill set and depending on what tasks, what type of activities you might face.
Yeah, you mentioned that you share a link, but I don't see it on the chat. And I guess it's because of YouTube actually blocks automatically links. Like I can share links because I'm a moderator, but it's not
Okay,
free for everyone.
see.
So if you send it to me, then I'll paste it on the chat so that everyone can have it. So you just send
Yes,
that across to me, and
I will
I'll
do
share it
that.
now. Okay, so there's another question about how graph works. Is it like combining or joining few related APIs? We sort of addressed that in all of those
Yes, I
links,
think we
Alan.
covered.
So yeah, have a look at all those things. But in essence, yeah, graph will end up. You can end up combining data from different systems in a single API call. It's quite powerful. It's quite good. It's capability part of SAP Integration Suite. So it used to be a standalone service, but no longer a standalone service. So now you need basically a subscription to SAP Integration Suite in order to get Graph. But you can end up connecting, for example, multiple S/4HANAs within a single what's called a business data graph. And also you can have even external systems like non-SAP systems, for example. I think SAP SuccessFactors is also something else that you're able to connect. So yeah, have a look. It's quite powerful. It's quite cool. Then now there's a question regarding SAP Signavio, which I'm very interested because I'm not very familiar with SAP Signavio. So is this a role for a technical consultant, functional consultant, or solution architect?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, right? But of course, we need to understand what SAP Signavio is, right? And it's not just a one tool. It actually is a set of tools for the business transformation, for process analysis, for deep process mining, for process modeling, for the simulation of the outcomes. So it comes with actually several tools in place, out of which you can also select what to use. For example, to maintain your BPMN models and to use the best practice models also on how some process in the S4 say can run, you use the process manager. In order now to evaluate and get some same day insights like we saw in the demo, we use the process insights, which you can connect to your ECC or S4HANA or Ariba, and then you can basically get the analysis of your processes done, and then you will see where you're lacking some improvements potentially. And then there is also process intelligence, which allow you to do mining in SAP, non-SAP systems, very on a very deep level, and then evaluate what's going on, and then also trigger the automations or feed the data to event mesh, for example, using the API connectivity. Yeah, so as you see, just from what I described, and I don't want to make it very complex, the personas also using these tools potentially are also different. So that's why it's really hard to give you one persona or even several personas who can use it. But I would say, of course, normally when you analyze your processes, we're talking about the business analyst or process analyst rather. So it's a dedicated persona who is looking into the process improvement potential. Yeah. But then functional consultant, definitely out of the list, can be a target user of Signavio, right? Because functional consultants also define the requirements to the process, and then functional consultant can create this process diagram using BPMN notation in order to define it and in order to have it logged in the system. Yeah, so it can be different personas. It can be quite a good number of different roles using Signavio. So I would go not from the roles, but rather from the functions that Signavio provide. Hopefully that clarifies.
Yeah, that's quite good. Like in the end, I think it's sort of we can see it as how with SAP Build we've been talking about fusion development, right? But in this case, it's like fusion, multiple teams with different sort of core competencies interacting with each other in order make sense out of the whole enterprise automation, right? So yeah, interacting with your functional consultant so that you can end up building those integrations or building those automations that you require in order to make your process more efficient in a way, you know. So yeah, sounds quite cool. Let's see. Those are all the questions that we have. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So
Yep.
thank you very much. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, I want to thank both of you, Jesse and Evgeny, for joining the session, for sharing your expertise as part of this session. I don't know if there are any additional remarks that you would like to add.
No, yeah. Just thanks to you, Antonio, as well for having
Okay.
us, and thanks, Jesse, for being a great co-host today.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks everybody for joining, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
much.
Yeah,
Bye.
so thank you to all the viewers, being you watched live or maybe a recording of this session. Thank you for making this far. And I just want to remind everyone that we still have a couple more days about the Tourfest, so make sure to check out all the sessions that we have as part of the Tourfest. And there's plenty to learn out there, so you can also watch recordings for previous weeks. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
See ya.
All right.
Excellent. I've stopped the stream, so
I
stop
think
recording as well.
Jesse